Hello, this is Elizabeth Clare Brewington with Discover Brightside, a multimedia video podcast networking channel. And thank you for watching our video today. We ask that you hit the subscribe button, write us a comment, and buy one of Sean's books. One of the things we do at Discover is we discover new authors, and we have a great summer reading list to help you with your business, to help you with your career, and to help you get ahead to get to the bright side. So, welcome to the bright side, Sean, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Elizabeth. I'm thrilled to be here and hopefully can share a couple of helpful nuggets for your audience. My background, oddly enough, before I began as a speaker and author and facilitator, I was a high school basketball coach and English teacher. And it was honestly as a basketball coach that I came to appreciate and learn and then to apply the lessons that now I help leaders to translate across industries and their businesses, which are ultimately to turn uh, underperforming teams into more connected and engaged organizations. And ultimately, we want leaders to be able to create sticky cultures with experiences to help them to inspire more profitable teamwork.
Wow, it's an amazing story. And I have a basketball story to tell you. When I first came to America way back
Uh-huh.
in 1995, I was tall and I thought I was like on top of the world. And I was invited to play basketball, and I thought, it would be no problem. I'll just hoop it over the top, and this little itsy bitsy girl who was not even 5 foot, maybe 5'2", comes and she beats me. I got scraped, I got bruised, I got hurt because I couldn't win with her. She was just so good. And the lesson it taught me was that you don't enter a new game without knowing what you're doing. You can't assume that because you're tall, you can just hit the ball like that. And it was all about strategy. And it was one of the best lessons I learned about playing basketball and how tough the game was.
Absolutely. The game absolutely rewards toughness. And like you said, I think that there's a wonderful lesson there in that, certainly you're not going to be great at anything when you first start. And that's a lesson that we would share
Yep.
with our athletes and I share with leaders, because if you want to be a more effective leader, you've got to be willing to be imperfect in the process. And if
Yes.
you're not willing to be bad, you're not going to be able to get better.
That's very, very true. And so yeah, so what was that? I know you talked a little bit about that in your intro, but what was that pivotal moment when you turned towards writing books and training, and what happened over there?
Long time ago in a galaxy pretty far away, I was actually a first year basketball coach at Pope High School just outside Atlanta here. And and I went in with a big bucket full of male ego. And I'm sure none of your listeners can identify with that, but I was full of expectations and enthusiasm. I thought I was going to change the world with really great X's and O's, amazing strategy. Our playbook was going to be wonderful. And we had pretty good talent. We had good strategy, and we completely underachieved. And it was all my fault. And I remember at the very end of that year, we had only won 5 games. Very, very painful season. Our players were better than the record would have suggested, and we had honestly underperformed. And leaving that locker room after our last loss of the season, after 21 losses, I realized if anything was going to be better, that I needed to be better. And my assistant coach, excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. Oh goodness!
Yeah, that's one of those things.
But my assistant coach said something as the kids were walking out, and basically drawing my attention to the fact that they were walking out as individuals, that we really hadn't become a team the entire season. And that was really my purpose. And I really spent that next off season in the beginning of what has become my life's passion, which is learning about culture and understanding that culture is always going to be a symptom of leadership. And my job as a leader was to be more intentional about investing time in experiences where they could learn more about and appreciate each other and understand the impact that their attitude and actions had on the team's performance. And I think that many leaders fall into that same bucket that I was struggling in early as a leader, because they think that it's all about talent and strategy, and they miss that third part, which is culture. And that obviously is what I help organizations with today.
Wow. And that is so true. It's really true because the culture and all that's going on with your team is very important that everybody syncs together and is on the same page. So that is true. So you've written several books. I was on your website this morning preparing for this interview. And tell me all about the books, and now you've got your latest book as well, which I can't wait to read. So yeah, tell me about your books.
Thank you for that. Yeah, the whole idea of sticky cultures is really an outgrowth of the kind of evolution of the books that I was writing. I wrote my very first book, which was Rapid Teamwork, when I decided I was going to be more involved as a speaker, to be able to share at conferences with the leaders and managers that I was speaking with about those 5 areas of culture, because culture is nothing more than the behaviors that are allowed and repeated in an organization. And I think as a leader, our job is to focus upon 5 areas of focus so that we change those behaviors into things that are productive for the team. And that's goals and relationships and expectations and accountability and then thanks. And those 5 things are kind of what the book Rapid Teamwork focused on. And then I realized when I was invited to speak to larger audiences with frontline team members, that they weren't as focused upon the leadership takeaways. They needed something that was going to help them be better. And that idea that had really grown our teams in a basketball locker room, I thought would be applicable across any industry for people to be not just employees, but to be winning teammates. And that was the second book, was the 10 Commandments of Winning Teammates. And I realized that most teammates only got better when they got past that ceiling of being arrogant or expecting that they knew enough already. Again, good enough seldom is. And I saw the same thing with athletes that I saw with leaders and team members, which is sometimes, in the midst of change, and there's a new process or a new platform of some kind that they were asked to learn to be better in their role, sometimes people would be annoyed or aggravated with instead of really excited to apply and appreciate it. And I think that idea of being coachable was one of the elements of being a winning teammate that I could really take a little bit more time with. So staying coachable was the next book. And as you mentioned, my most recent book is, if those winning teammates are coachable, ultimately they're going to be elevated to a position of leadership. And being a contributor and what those skills require is very different than a set of skills that's required as a manager and leader. And again, technical skill is always going to be trumped by interpersonal skill when you're needing to manage and lead people. And so the book, What Effective Leaders Do, was, I think, the end of that cycle that puts together sticky cultures.
And one of the things that I'm noticing now is that, teams are shrinking because budgets are shrinking. And the days are gone when, corporations would spend money on training. And because AI and technology is replacing people, now most of us have to learn technology and how to use all these tools that normally people would be doing these tasks for you. So how do you think I don't know, this is a futuristic question, but how do you think we go from being team players to being individuals to being, I don't know, performance driven? But now it's like almost you're coaching your AI or chat GPT, to be your team player, which is kind
And
of
I do think,
strange. Yeah.
yeah, I think that there's always going to be, and there's always been an element of technology that has been required to be a good teammate. We've got to learn whatever that process or platform or equipment is that's going to help us to be effective in our role. And that's not changed, obviously, as you said, that's continued to evolve to where we have all these apps and all these platforms and all these things that we need to learn in terms of technology to be effective in a role. But I don't believe, and I think that one of the things that makes leaders really effective is not thinking about what's going to change, but really taking time to recognize that there are also a set of things that aren't going to change. And working with people is one of those elements of teamwork and organizational success that is not going to change. And we become better when we learn to appreciate people, when we learn to communicate more effectively, when we learn to build trust and to be curious and compassionate instead of commanding and consequencing people. I think that those are things that, as leaders focus upon the things that aren't going to change, they become far more effective in helping people navigate the things that they need to when those elements do change.
So what's your website? How can people reach you, and how can they buy your books or book your training?
Oh, well, I certainly appreciate that. I would be absolutely honored to help any of your audience. They can find me at stickycultures.com, at greatresultsteambuilding.com, on LinkedIn, Sean Glaze. And I would be thrilled for them to take me up on the offer of, I've got over 60 or 70 free resources and tools, tactics, and handouts that are available if they go to either of those websites, or they can go straight to toolboxstuff.com, and that just asks for a name and an email address to give them access to my toolbox of leadership resources. And again, if they want to reach out via email or via LinkedIn, I would be thrilled to try and be a helpful resource for leaders, whatever the industry.
So there you have it. Take advantage of it. And as we say, buy the book. One of the things we want to encourage is literacy. We want people to read more. We want people to have their own home libraries where they actually know the authors and make it more personal. So thank you for watching Discover Brightside. Sean, you've been discovered on our channel, and we will hear more from Sean soon, I hope. And so thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. And we are advancing and changing, so stay tuned, because we are changing our platform and we want to offer you more things. So definitely get in touch with us. And in the comments is our VIP groups for LinkedIn and for Facebook. Make sure you join that, because then you will actually get to see the videos, and you will also be able to get the latest on our conferences and our upcoming events as well. So thank you for watching.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth.